Education is where we believe we can make the biggest difference, and I'll pass over to Paul to explain how we work there.
Thank you, Ben. The work that many of you are involved with at national, regional and global level is critical if we are to respond to the urgent issue of digital poverty in good time. But I know, as do many of you, that the reality of real, practical change comes from empowering communities and individuals themselves. And that is our focus at Unconnected. Whilst our origin and home is based here in Europe, our development work takes place across the world. Now, we identified that the only real opportunity to get connectivity to many of the people who are excluded was through utilising low Earth orbit satellites. We therefore formed partnerships with organisations like Starlink and others who supply dishes and connectivity for us to achieve one of our ambitions, which is to connect 5,000 schools and their communities as quickly as possible. One example of this work is our work in Malawi, one of the poorest countries in the world with some of the lowest connection rates. Real change, I'm sure you'll agree, starts with schools. And working with our network of local partners, we connect schools, and we can work quickly too. At one period last year, we connected 97 schools in just 6 weeks. And if you imagine these schools are very, very rural and remote, that is no easy task. All of those schools also act as local hubs with a mesh network to provide sustainable, affordable connectivity to their immediate community. The revenue generated by the school through this enables them to sustain the connection as well as all of the school's equipment. We've done the same in Kenya, Malaysia, Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, Mexico and Colombia, removing installation and capital costs for impoverished local populations whilst delivering connectivity, meaningful connectivity, and huge opportunities for 2.5 million people last year. Which is not bad for a small, relatively new charity working primarily with volunteers. Myself, having worked in policy development in this area, particularly in the UK for the last 9 years, I recognise the critical importance of that work, but also often the glacial pace of change. I now ascribe to a quote from Sheryl Sandberg, who said that done is better than perfect. And when you do that, and you start the process of change for people immediately, there is something very special about watching that happen. Thank you.
So, in summary, we now live in a two-tiered world, divided by those who have access to the largest repository of information ever gathered in human existence, and those that don't. And the gap between these two groups is widening all the time. This is why we are delivering more and more projects to make a difference to as many people as possible as quickly as we can. However, while this is essential work, I have a question. If anyone here believes that philanthropy alone can solve this issue, can you raise your hand? Thought so. We need to come together. We need to find a different solution. There are 2.6 billion people at the bottom of the pyramid for whom the current business model and telcos and device manufacturers just doesn't work. We need to find economic value from these 2.6 billion people so we can get a connected device in their hands which has the power to transform their lives forever. I'll end with another question for you all to consider. Do you really think there's an appetite to do this? Please find me later if you'd like to discuss this or anything else. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. This was a very powerful message, encouraging all of us to work together and also encouraging all type of the stakeholders to work together. This is very important, and I loved your question about philanthropy, because I think this is very often classified as the way forward for any problem which we have, but it's not the case. Correct. So thank you very much for this advocacy. And ladies and gentlemen, we are moving to our next distinguished speaker, who is connecting online. It's Lucy